Welcome to ArgoCon, everyone. So my name's Zach. I'm a software engineer at Intuit and the lead rollouts maintainer. So as Dan had mentioned, users.md file has existed in Argo projects for quite some time. And I kind of noticed an uptick in the Argo Rollouts project. In 2025, we had 18 new users added to users.md. And of those 18, 67% contributed code bug fixes when they added themselves to the users.md file. And those are some pretty big companies that I think some of you are all familiar with, which I think shows a testament of kind of the stability and production readiness of Argo Rollouts. Which, speaking of the kind of the production readiness factor, Intuit uses rollouts itself, and some of these numbers I was looking at just recently just kind of blew my mind away. So it's not necessarily this is about Intuit, it's just about how large of a deployment Argo Rollouts is managing. At Intuit, we have 24,000 rollout objects across 350 clusters, and we do about 116,000 deployments in a month. Rollouts has an abort feature, if you're not familiar with it, which can detect if there's problems with your application. And in production, we've possibly saved 100 plus incidents a month that Rollouts has protected us from. Argo Rollouts 1.9 RC1 was just released. We have in this release, I would say it's kind of a little bit of a stabilization release. There's a lot of bug fixes that have gone into it. Some interesting numbers, though, that I think are fun is we've had 69 total contributors. 55 of those have been new contributors. There's 7 new features, 47 bug fixes, and 31 documentation updates, and 15 chore updates, which is just, general maintenance. Although chores can be really big too. So one of the things that Argo Rollouts does is it embeds the pod spec into the rollout resource. And one of the things that causes is that when Kubernetes releases new features themselves into the pod spec specifically, we have to match their client libraries and rollouts to enable those new features. Kubernetes recently, I think it was in V130, made a bunch of changes to code generation and how easy it is to technically import these libraries. So we kind of stagnated a little bit, but just recently, due to Raphael, we were able to upgrade the dependencies to 1.3.4, which is the latest version of the Kubernetes libraries, and that lets people basically use all the new features in the pod spec. And it was a big addition, as you can see, 68 files changed and 4,700 lines added. Now we'll just go over a couple of the new features that I think are interesting and kind of fun for rollouts, or that I'm excited about, that have come up recently. Progress thresholds. So one of the things that Argo Rollouts does is as you're going through your steps, it checks to make sure that the availability count of the pods have been met before moving on to the next step. However, pre-1.8, or in 1.8 and previous, it was very, very strict. You had to basically have 100% of your numbers met. In 1.89, you can now configure essentially a toleration. So if you have like an HPA or you have a really noisy environment where things kind of move around a lot, pre this feature, a lot of times you would get stuck kind of waiting for that stabilization period where your pods would meet the required percentages. Now you can kind of tune that a little bit to make sure that you make progress. Analysis model refresh. This is kind of a collaboration between Credit Karma and the open source community. They've done some nice additions to the UI to essentially allow you to see graphs of your analysis runs and what metrics you have configured there and why they failed and where they failed, etc. It's a pretty good addition. And last but not least, step plugins was recently added in 1.8. It lets you essentially define a custom step in rollouts, lets you enable a whole bunch of different features like multi-region routing if you have that available. Pretty much anything that your heart's content that you can design a plugin that you would like to have run during your deployment, you can do with plugins. And there's actually a talk a little bit later today, I think right after that, we'll go into a little bit more details about what step plugins are. And I'll get back to Dan.